What's up, people? All right, we're going to install Fusion for Freeswitch, and we're also going to install VoIP Innovations as a DID, as well as, or DID and subtrunks, as well as Signalwire. So I'm going to do a kind of a redundancy thing where we're going to do a VoIP Innovations as a primary, and we'll do a dial 9 option to get an alternate route using Signalwire. But I'll also configure Signalwire as an inbound route as well, just so you can see that. Typically, I wouldn't go with an inbound route with Signalwire because it's just a step that you don't need. But I'll show you how to do both ways. Just you can pick and choose which provider you'd like. Still not interested in showing you guys how to connect Twilio. Not only is it expensive as hell, but it's a pain in the ass. So let's go into spinning up a server, and it's going to be a Debian for me in San Francisco. Some updates have also happened with Fusion. You'll see the dashboard's completely different. There's going to be another big update. Actually, unfortunately, I'm not going to have it for a while. It's not probably going to be very stable anyway for a couple months. So I'll do another install with the latest and greatest update where they're going to increase the functionality of the front end to be more real time on its on the dashboard and data. And everything that I'm doing is in the companion doc as usual. So you can just cut and paste right along with me or whenever you're ready to get around to do this. Once we get that IP address, we're going to plug it into the registrar so we can create or update the A record for our domains. And I'm also going to update the VoIP Innovations endpoint group. I'm just copying everything to the domain notepad so I can copy and paste from there when I need to. So let's grab the IP, update the registrar, the DNS information here. So of course, do not copy me exactly because you're going to have different information. You supposedly, or I suppose you have different domain names and you have a different IP address. Copy, creating a new A record for as many tenants or segments as you want or domains as you want on the Freeswitch server. I'm going to request a new endpoint. And then once I add the new IP address, I'm going to promote it to the highest priority. And then I'll leave and delete. I don't need. For clearing some of that stuff up, I'm going to have a long list of demo servers. And we don't need to do anything with Signalwire quite yet, because that doesn't authenticate through IP addresses. It authenticates through passwords and usernames. All right, so let's log into the server. Got the companion doc up and running so I can copy and paste to make it a little bit faster. And I'm just going to log into the server. All right, so let's update those packages. Or not update, let's install them first and update them. And if prompted, definitely update. Well, it's your choice, but I usually update the package maintainer to get the latest packages available. And here's a way to make the selection. Just up arrow once, install the latest. All right, so let's just run the update one more time. All right, so I'm going to start a session, the persistent session, which is what tmux is for. And I'm going to paste in the command to get the script. And we're going to run the configuration, which is good to do if you want to use a domain name rather than the IP address, which I do. You can also change the password. I get into trouble either way. Sometimes I leave it random, I forget to grab it. Sometimes I change it, I mistype it, and then I mess myself up that way. So I've decided it doesn't matter if I randomize it or if I enter it in for a static password, because I mess up either way sometimes. So I'm just going to leave it randomized and hope I get it, or hope to remember to get it on the way out after it's installed. Let me just check my work. Just wanted to make sure that domain was spelled correctly. And now we're going to run the install script. And this takes about 20 minutes, so I'll see you in about 20 minutes. All right, it's all done. And this is the part that you really need to not forget to copy. And you definitely don't want to copy it wrong. So I just want to make sure that you have the first letter and the last letter to indicate that you highlighted every single part of that password. And then once we have that, we can continue with the SSL certificate. But before we do that, there's the other part that's kind of broken. Nginx isn't starting. It hasn't been starting for a whole year. So just check it real quick with the status command. And it usually isn't running. So to get out of it, just Control-C a couple times. And then let's go into start. Okay, so once we have it started, we can check status again and make sure everything's green. And get out with Control-C a couple times to get back to the command line. So now that we have Nginx started, we can actually run the SSL certificate script. So we'll go to the companion document and copy this line. Okay, and the domain names, you can add as many, well, don't add as many as you want, add 2, because I think adding 3 breaks the SSL certificate as well. Let's see, and I'm using Fusion and Fusion 2, TSPDS, and whatever email address you want to register. I generally have just a an admin email account there. Okay, so that is that. We can clear that. Now we can jump into the GUI and finish the configuration there. Let's open up a new tab. Make sure the certificate's working. Type in admin, use that password, system generated password. And typically I would create another super user, so I'm not using the main admin account. But because this is just a demo and we won't be using this server for very long, I'm just going to leave it as is. So we're just going to continue with the companion doc. So we have those two. Yes, the reboot the server is optional. Yes, yes, yes. Let's just go to part 4 where we log in to the browser or with the browser. And we're going to add one more domain. Oh, it's in advanced, isn't it? And add the second tenant. Now again, this is just to show you what it looks like because I'm not going to be using this long enough for me to care about the second tenant. So when you save that, you'll see this pop up on the side, which will give you a list of all your tenants or domains, depending how you refer to them, for this single server. All right, so then what? We're going to create access controls for the authentication of the SIP trunking. Open up the existing providers entry, and we're going to allow, we'll allow Signalwire first, which is the easy one. Because what you do here, just type in the allow, the CIDR, and then just enter this, and it'll populate with all the IP addresses that are associated to the sip.signalwire.com. And for the last two, you'll put in the VoIP Innovations IP addresses, which is 64. We got to save that one, and then it'll populate with a new field. We want to change this 3 to a 4. After we've saved that information, we're going to go into the next part, which is the gateways themselves. Okay, that's under accounts. And the directions or the companion document has Signalwire first, but I'm not going to do Signalwire. It takes a little bit more time to configure it in the Signalwire account. I'm going to configure it right here because I've already done most of the things I need to do in VoIP Innovations with the endpoint group. So this is going to be, and username is, what is the username? I think it's a phone number. And it doesn't have to be a, well, yes it does. I think it has to be a registered phone number. So this is my test phone number with VoIP Innovations. Password is none, but you have to type something in there. Then the proxy is going to be first gateway server for VoIP Innovations. We're going to create 3 of these secondary. Well, I'm not going to create the tertiary gateway. I'm just going to do a secondary, and then we'll use the alternate route as Signalwire. It would be a dial 9 for Signalwire's SIP trunk. Got to make sure they get the IP addresses, no spaces, everything exactly right, or things break. Oh, I just made a mistake. So do not, this is supposed to be the same information. Do not type the secondary gateway in the same reference. Okay, let me go down and type the description. Oh, no. I just made another mistake. That's not a good mistake to make either. It does not register. That sometimes causes problems where I have to delete the whole thing and start over. I mean, it's not the whole server, just that entry. So now I'm going to type in a secondary. So hopefully it starts to work properly and doesn't register. Otherwise, I'm going to have to delete that entry and create a new primary. Yeah, we can just copy that actually. Let's do that. Come on. All right, in this case, do not make the mistake I made the first time, and to register, say no. It authenticates by the IP addresses. It does not register with a username and password. Signalwire does. The description really doesn't matter. I just like keeping things consistent. Still trying. Oh, this could be a problem. Okay, we'll come back to this later. Let's see if it's still, nope, it failed. Yeah, of course it did. Okay, there's another way around this, which has to do with, I'll just go through it the way I've fixed it before, but sometimes I've just deleted that line and created a whole new gateway entry. Oh, you know what? That's not what I did. What I did was I restarted these. That's IPv6, stupid. I don't even need IPv6. Okay, and let's make sure we're good on the gateway section. Okay, that's good. You don't want it to have this weird status where it's failed or something like that. You want it to be no state of no registration, but it's running. All right, let's go to the next. So let's go to the VoIP Innovations and create a new endpoint. So in this case, what we're doing is we have the address here, which it doesn't really matter what the address is. Let's just call it 6644, which is the last 4 of the phone number. And then the password, because, again, I'm not going to be using this long enough for it to matter. Make the password very simple. Oops. And we don't care about caller ID at this point. That's all good. We just want to go down and save. Yeah, it doesn't like that password. It's too weak. All right. Let's make sure my less weak password works. Okay, it worked. All right, great. So we're going to add another line. The gateway in this case doesn't matter what you call the gateway. We're going to call this the Signalwire. The username is what you saw me type in, which is 6644. And the password is going to be my password I typed in. The from user is the same. From domain is going to be the second half of this address. Okay, so this is just going to be populated in the last or next three fields, which is from domain, proxy, and realm are all the same, which is everything after the @ symbol, not the @ symbol, but everything after the @ symbol. We're going to register as true because we do want it to log in. And then what is this? This is then we're going to save that. Okay, so you're going to see that try, and then it should say something like successful. And there we go. It is regged, so it is successful. What's next on our list? Gateways for redundancy, I already did all that. Okay, this is a little note about how to configure Signalwire specifically. Okay, so now we're just going to go to these. I might have to redo this companion doc because I think I did this out of order a little bit. But anyway, it's okay, I can get through it. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to grab the audio file, which I've had here for everybody, just a public share, that we can grab these generic references, this is a generic IVR file, or for a greeting.
Thank you for calling. If you know your party's extension, please enter it now, or dial 9 for a
So we're going to create this this route, inbound route, for the phones to be answered by the IVR rather than the extensions, because I have not built any extensions yet. So what we have to do is go to applications and recordings, upload the recording that we just downloaded, and then go back and build out an IVR. The IVR numbers don't matter, like the extensions number don't matter. I just have naming conventions that I keep across all my installs. But generally the numbers won't matter as far as the extension or the name or the extension numbers of the different like kind of entry points, or whatever you would call them, extensions, I guess. Everything basically is represented by an extension number. So the extension for, that's the name. So I'm just going to call it general menu. There's no parent menu. I don't have any other IVRs. The language doesn't matter. The greeting is the greeting we just uploaded. And we're going to create direct dial so they can dial the extension. If we had extensions, they could dial them directly in the IVR or in the menu. And this is the generic IVR menu. And that's it. Now, of course, the context just basically means the tenant you're in, or the account you want to create the IVR for, which will be by default the current tenant, and then save that. What I want to do is we're going to configure those destinations now, which is under accounts. No, I'm wrong. Destinations under dial plan. And the country code in my case is 1. The destination is that test phone number that I described earlier, which is 509. Oops, I did not type that. Caller ID name doesn't matter. Conditions don't matter unless you want to specify like a kind of a custom routing. So you can like provide a condition for like incoming, or detecting the caller ID and routing based on the caller ID. Just as an example, I don't use that very much, but some people probably would really like that feature. Users don't matter, or the user group doesn't matter. Recording doesn't matter unless you want to record every single call. That is a little heavy on the server. Not too heavy. It's quite efficient, but it definitely records every single phone call. And it kind of, not only is it sapping your bandwidth on the server itself for the resources, but it's also taking up storage space. And the description is main VoIP Innovations number. Call it DID. Ringback doesn't usually matter unless you want it to ring. Unless you want it to ring with like the normal ring that we all hear, you can have it ring back with an audio file or anything you want. And I think we're good with that. I'm checking my work because it didn't save when I first clicked it. Now on the VoIP Innovations side, I just want to make sure that you've configured it properly. So what you have is my little test number that I've been adding as the destination, which also simultaneously created an inbound route, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then we have the configuration for that, which is, in VoIP Innovation situation, is the endpoint group is the right configuration. You have all these other options, but endpoint group is what you want. Then we created the endpoint group called Fusion TSPDS. I have all those other options. And then if we need to change it, you save it, make your little notes if you want. I like that feature a lot, that you can make some notes just specifically for the DID. And then you go into the endpoint group, which I already configured. I showed you in the beginning where I created or requested a new endpoint, and then I promoted it to the priority or the primary endpoint group. In this case, port 5080 is good. The term rate or the rate deck that you use is up to you on that. They have different kind of granular levels of of regex for calling features and also price points for per minute calling. And then the port, well, I already mentioned the port. I usually strip the plus and the country code unless I'm configuring for free PBX, which is on asterisk, then I leave those unchecked. I just wanted to give you that for reference. Let's see what's next. I think we're going to go into Freeswitch next, right? Let's do a test though before we get a little bit too far. I want to show the inbound route was created, and then the configuration is here. That's good. Don't need to do anything. It's just important to make sure that it populated with something. No, I thought it was wrong, but it is okay. Okay, that's fine. Let's see what's the next on my list, just to keep in line so I don't run into too many mistakes. What should we do? I was going to make a test call, but I don't know if you can hear the test call. Let me try it. Let's create a extension first, and well, let's make a test call. You guys can hear it through my microphone, because all we want to do is hear the recording, and away we go.
Now, or dial 9 for a directory.
And that's correct. That's what the generic message sounds like. And then we're going to go into configuring. Well, let's see. We can also make phone calls out. So let's configure an extension, and we'll test well, we already tested the incoming call, but let's see. What should we test on? Let's just do an extension first. Connect the extension, and then we'll make the call from the extension on the server. So in this case, see, most people start with either 100 or 1000. I have my own naming conventions. There is no correct way to assign your first extension with a particular number. You can use whatever number you want. Like I said, most people use 100 or 1000. Outbound caller ID name. This is where the caller ID matters here for VoIP Innovations. And I'm going to use the number we have as the test. And the number, I did it wrong, backwards. So I'm going to call it Tech and Spades Demo. And this is where you put in the email if you want to have voicemail the email. We're not going to configure the SMTP server, so that's not going to be useful anyway. So let's make sure we are connecting to something. Let's see, the account name is 400. The account name doesn't matter what it is. And display as doesn't matter. This matters. Username and the password. I didn't get the password. I'm going to make the password much easier. And save that. And that's not a good idea at all. I mean, that password's terrible. Do not use that password. There's a bunch of servers just running around checking for where the phone servers are in the world and just trying to connect to them with all kinds of extensions and passwords. And it registered right away. We'll save that. We'll go back to the dialer. And what we'll do is make a phone call from let's make the phone call from our Tech and Spades phone number to the test account. Oh, wrong. Okay, but what we want to do now is redirect. Okay, we save that. Let's go to the destinations. Let's redirect those calls directly to the extension 400. So we're basically just going to take it from the IVR menu, which we heard just when I did the test call, and I'm going to flip it to the first extension. And I'm going to let you watch on because this is the super exciting part. Where the hell? Oh, there it is. So we're going to make that call coming in. It's not showing you, it's showing me on the actual phone. That's not what I wanted to have happen. So let's do this a different way. Let's kill this. And let's go into screen mirroring in a different way here. And let's just test it the same way we just tested it. So you can actually see the success. So now we just answer it, and the call quality hopefully is fantastic, but that's the good demonstration. And it thinks it couldn't hear anything. The audio, as far as it's concerned, had a problem because I'm plugged into a USB cable, which might be interfering with the audio. But anyway, let's kill this. Let's go back to the server. Okay, so everything's working great on the VoIP Innovations side. Now let's get that incoming on the Signalwire side, which requires a different kind of configuration, which is really important to notice here. But let's go and create that. Let's create the inbound route first. We'll create the outbound route second. But let's see about this. So we have no outbound routes. We couldn't call out if we wanted to, which is fine for our purposes. We're going to create it. Inbound route here. Let's change what we need to change on the Signalwire configuration. So we have this particular phone number, which we use this, the last four of the VoIP Innovations phone number as the address. It's kind of a little confusing there, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that address reads. You can put any string of text or string of characters you want, and then you can put whatever password you want, as long as it looks fairly complicated. And then we're just going to use this phone number for the incoming route for our test server. We're going to make it a SIP gate. Nope, is it a SIP gateway? I think so. No, endpoint. It's a SIP endpoint, and then we direct it to the SIP trunk we just created, which is the 6644, and we have to type something in there. It's not going to give us the answer unless we start typing. And then this is for messaging, which we're not going to configure. And then we're going to save that. And then we're going to go into creating the endpoint right here. No. I'm getting out of order here. We want the dial plan, we want destinations. That's where we create these things. Country code in my case is 1. This number is... And then the actions, again, we're going to make it go to the IVR menu. We don't want to record usage for voice, and then we're going to make it a primary Signalwire gateway. Oh no, it's a inbound DID. All right, that should be good. And this is the difference. This is the main difference right here. And you need to do this for the Signalwire DIDs or inbound routes. So now that we've created the destination, which automatically created the inbound route, and then we jump into the inbound route directly, and then you change this. If you don't do this, it won't work. So you have to change this to, that's SIP2 user. No, SIP2 user, not from this one right here. You save that, and now we're going to be able to get calls, and we're going to call that number, which is 323, and we're going to get that.
Calling. If you know your party's extension, please enter it now, or dial 9 for a directory.
Okay, so there you go. You're going to have to take my word for it because I can't show you absolutely every screen I have. It would take forever to set all that up. All right, so we have those routes. Again, the main difference between the VoIP Innovations and the Signalwire is VoIP Innovations is purely IP authenticated, and Signalwire uses the password and username. And then on that inbound route, you have to change this right here to the SIP2 user, okay? That is all the difference that you need to make. All right, what are we doing next? Now we're getting outbound. Okay, that's everything I just did. All right, and the outbound routes are a little bit easier because we can pick and choose now between all our trunks, okay? All the gateways we created. And they do different things. Be careful with Signalwire because Signalwire controls the caller ID. With VoIP Innovations, Freeswitch controls the caller ID. So when you're manipulating caller ID or you're using Signalwire, you don't control caller ID in the server. You control caller ID in your Freeswitch account. Okay, so caller ID exists. Let's go into settings. And caller ID is going to be this unless you create a different, where is it? No, it isn't, it's here. Caller ID is going to be controlled right here. It's either going to be that phone number we just have because it's registered with Signalwire, or you can verify your other phone. So you can verify your cell phone, you can verify your Google Voice phone, you can verify your office phone, your home phone, whatever the hell phone you want. And as soon as you verify it, where's the verification process? Oh man, I don't remember where the verification process is. They've kind of changed the menu around a little bit, so I'm not, there it is, verified. So you can go through this process and verify numbers, and then assign these numbers right here in the SIP endpoint. Okay, so I don't know what people prefer. Some people probably prefer for the server to control the caller ID. Some people probably like the Signalwire version. But in this case, because the way Signalwire does their caller ID differently, I'm just going to use this first, the primary outbound route using all VoIP Innovations. And the dial plan is, I'm going to make 2 dial plans or 2 outbound dial plans. One's going to be an America 10 and 11 digit. Prefix is 1, and then this is going to be the 10-digit. Then we'll make a 7-digit. A lot of people, back in the old days, we all used to dial 7-digit. In our local area, we dial 7-digit numbers, not 10. And a lot of people still do that. I like doing that as well when I'm in the area and I'm dialing local numbers. So in that case, we're going to go to the 7-digit local. And because the DID for VoIP Innovations is 559, we'll use a 155, oops, that's not right, 1559 to append that, and then it's going to be the 7-digit. Now, what you also can do as an alternative is 911s. You can put 911s and make them global so everybody can dial 911 no matter what tenant they're on. You can also make all these global, by the way, if you wanted to make all these outbound routes for everybody in the system, no matter what tenant they're on. Let's see here. So now we just done that. Now the only thing I was going to do, like I told you in the beginning of this video, was I'm going to make the Signalwire a kind of a failover redundant dial 9 alternate route. And I'm going to make that, we got it down here. Let's make it a dial 9 then 10-digit. Prefix is 1, and that's going to be alt route, Freeswitch, since there's not going to be a secondary. All right. So now if we grab the phone, which I don't think it'll work no matter what I'm doing. Let's try it. Okay, so we're into the demo. Let's try calling Tech and Spades. Yeah, it doesn't show you anything, unfortunately, but it is working. Yeah, it's not a very good demo because you guys can't hear anything, but it works. So let's try it the other way with the other screen sharing. I don't know why it's protecting. It's like it's giving me privacy I don't need right now. All right, so let's go back to the phone. It's going to be 909. Okay, so I'll answer it. Unfortunately, again, it's not going to be a very good demo because I don't think you guys can hear any of this. So that's just me talking in on the Tech and Spades phone number, and I'm going to hang up on that. Now let's demo the dial 9 first and see if that works. 5909. Yep, and it's using the wrong caller ID, but I can configure that later. Like I said, Signalwire kind of hijacks the caller ID, but it is working the way I expected. It's just using the wrong caller ID. So again, caller ID on Signalwire is a little bit more difficult and different because it's handled and managed through the the Signalwire account platform rather than the Freeswitch server. But besides that, we are up and running. If the only thing we would need to do next, which is the easy part, let me just run through some quick way to add. There's 2 or 3 ways to add this stuff. So we can do it. This is the real easy way where we can just now, since I have 400, I'll add 401 and then I can add multiples and then I can configure it. And basically they'll all be the same basic configuration. Really the only thing you need to make sure of is your caller ID, outbound caller ID and number are good. And what else? Because once you have the caller ID outbound, you want to basically populate that with every extension, of course. Or you can import them. And I've created in the companion doc, let's go back to the companion doc. I've created a little cheat sheet for everybody, which you just open this up.
Thank you for calling.
Oh, no,
If you know
that's not what the hell am I doing? And you can copy this and paste into this area. Okay, and so what happens is this is the extension number, as you can probably guess. The next number is the password for the extension. It's not the voicemail password. The voicemail password will be automatically generated, and you can change those later. The don't answer is basically the outbound caller ID name, and this number is the outbound caller ID number. So that's how that is formatted. Oh, you know what? You also want that first row. Always get that first row for, let me just do it this way. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Damn it. You definitely want the first row because Freeswitch or this Fusion import assumes you have a first row. It will not let you grab, see, it doesn't let you grab number 1. So you have to have a first row. So make sure you grab the first row, put that in there, make sure it's in there completely across the top. And you can continue and update or import it all. Let me just do it as demo. So we have 400. We'll just do an import of 401. And we'll import it because it'll fill out, or allow you to remap, which is really nice. The old version of Fusion didn't allow you to do that. It didn't do the number, unfortunately. It's worked for me before. I don't know what the hell the difference was that time. Let me check. Yeah, I don't know why the number didn't populate. Anyway, so it gives you that's 2 options. Let's see. Or this is the slow option where you open up 1 and then you just copy the 1 and you enter the new extension. So those are the ways you add the extensions. Adding extensions is the easiest part. So I'll let you do that on your own and let you get back to it.